Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys. We are so excited to talk today and bring you behind the scenes of the Scene Through Story workshop. We are anticipating Annie Ricalde to join us,
Yes.
and we're hoping she's in a new location, and it's the story of being in new locations and internet having problems and struggles. And
Yes.
so if not, we're definitely going to miss her, and we love her input and everything. But in the
Mhm.
meanwhile, we want to at least get started and share a little bit of the background. So I'm Lynn Thomas. I'm with Arenas for Change, or as we call it as ARCH for short, AR for Arena, CH for Change. And arches are symbolic of transformation, which fits really nicely because stories are about characters going through journeys of transformation. And so we're going to be talking about how we ended up really honing in and delving into the concept of story. We all hear about the how narratives and how our life narratives impact our behaviors, our emotions, our thoughts, and our life experiences. And that when we can change those narratives and change those stories, we can change, and the world around us can change. And so there's definitely that element. And we started getting a little bit more, even more detailed in holding a story framework using different storytelling principles. But again, I like to say it's not so much about storytelling as it is about having a story mindset. So we thought we'd share about some of this learning that we've had in this journey, and it led into the creation of an online interactive workshop that we do through Arch called the Scene Through Story Workshop, which is 2 days. It's a very full, very interactive and engaging 2 days where you get to learn 7 of these story tools that we're going to talk a little bit about with you guys today and share about how we came about them and why, and how we've found them to be impactful. So I'm going to go ahead and let Lynn Moore, we have the twin Lynn's here today again. But Lynn Moore, go ahead if you'd like to introduce yourself and your background.
Sure. Lynn Moore, the other side of the twin Lyns. And I've been doing this work here in Minnesota at Acres for Life Therapy and Wellness Center for 23 years. So I met up with Lynn Thomas and Annie Ricalde years ago and have been learning alongside them all that time. So it's been a journey, and as this part of the arch where we're talking about story, it's really brought more things to life for me and my practice here. And I mean, we see about 125 people a week. And it's been fun to kind of try the different techniques that we're going to talk about here today in those sessions. And also just having, the story mindset. And we'll talk about that too. We talk about that a lot in our story workshop that Lynn mentioned, which we have one coming up here in a few weeks.
Thanks, Lynn. Yeah, so we like to call Lynn as the one who likes to try everything out. So Lynn is just an inspiration in that she is always, always learning. And Annie Ricalde, if she's able to get on too, is someone who I just hold. She is brilliant, and she's always willing to try everything out too. And over the years, we've known each other for a lot of years. You guys both have been practicing incorporating horses for mental health, organizational development for a lot of years. How many years, Lynn?
Well, 23 for me. I'm
Okay,
sure it's
23 for you.
not
I
that
think
long,
that's
but
about the same for Annie too.
yeah.
And in 2021, we got together and started Arenas for Change. And what I really love about the Arch community, is that it is full of a group of people who are just always looking to look at the nuances and keep refining and delving into new ideas and being creative, trying new things out. And that's what we all enjoy doing. That's at the foundation of our values. And so we really started, when we started Arch, we really wanted to look at, okay, our main focus was, what can we do as facilitators to create a more emotionally safe environment? Again, looking at all these wonderful practitioners doing amazing work. And there's always kind of those little layers of the onion we can keep peeling and that kind of thing. So emotional safety was a big part of it, where clients truly feel seen and heard. And are there things we can be doing as facilitators to really support our clients in that journey? And story came about as one of the elements that we really found to be effective. And it started off with starting to look with a mindset of story. I should share it with you guys too. We created what we call the scene keystones as our foundation. And that's why you say scene through story. Scene keystones are a set of questions we ask ourselves as facilitators to address those nuances. Scene is sense of self. What am I doing and what am I bringing to the process? E, empowering mindset. How am I creating a choice-oriented environment where the client is truly the author of the story, of the journey and process? E, externalizing story. How am I working through a mindset of story that can help support emotional safety and learn new things in an organic way? And natural flow. How can we, as facilitators, really build and bridge and connect moment to moment so it feels very flowy, organic, and natural as we go on this journey with our clients? And so that's the scene keystones that we started off with. And as we really started delving into externalizing story more, we started learning quite a bit and deciding to try some new things out with that and really look at the process as a story. There are characters, there are locations, there's an arc, a story arc. There are arch moments, what we call moments of transformation that these characters go through. And they go through the messy middle of the arch. They're on this side in one way, they go through the messy middle full of plot twists and end up on the other side.
I'm just
And yeah, go ahead,
thinking
Lynn.
too, Lynn, and you talk about that psychological safety and thinking of it as story. In the past, I think I used to think about, oh, how is this represented in your life? Like those sort of questions and those sort of things. But where we've taken it with story is the story. We're actually able to like step into our story, step back from our story. And I think it adds another layer of that psychological safety and another dimension that we can get into for insight for our clients. It's also, we talked about the mindset, but it could be just a made up story. However, as we're making up a story about what's happening in front of us, it ends up becoming our story. But we don't have to say that. Our clients don't have to really say that or own that, but they can learn from that experience. So I just was tying that back to the psychological safety of moving to that story framework.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. And it would be great if you want to go ahead and share, like, again, you've been doing this work incorporating horses, and this can be applied in many different contexts.
Mhm.
We do a lot of focus incorporating horses, nature, animals in the work that we do. Could you share some examples of what did you notice, first maybe holding it as a mindset, but then later we started verbalizing and involving our clients collaboratively
Yeah.
in applying story and story language. But is there any thoughts you have of where you'd like to share of how did this impact your work?
Yeah, its impact, it continually impacts it. But I'm thinking back to when we started and just using the mindset, it helped me to look at the store, look at what was happening out there just at another level and to be more curious, I think, more curious to understand, wow, if the client's talking about, well, that one, is so confident, and then start thinking about, oh, okay, well, I'm thinking to myself, confidence as a character, and then there's a location that the client seems to, confidence seems to be in more often. I found myself more curious asking about the relationship between confidence and that location, and is there other spots out here where, confidence is showing up? So kind of almost rising up above where the client is and visually seeing the story come to life, where, right, working with horses, they're living, breathing beings. So that's pretty easy to see that part of the story come to life, but also different things in the location where the wind and the grass and the trees or the flowers or a tiny bug that might be showing up that takes on a, a character role, right? That normally I might not be bringing into my mindset as a way to support the client in their um, development, their personal development or their perspective. So that's kind of early on, just seeing things a little different and a way of bringing in more curiosity. I think then an early story that comes to mind is working with a young teenage girl that was pretty quiet. She is not very verbal. Not it didn't feel like she was engaging too much in sessions, and she would, she liked horses. She liked being outside, but I didn't feel like we were really connecting, or I was able to be with her, and that's a key concept in um, the arch framework too, is the idea of being with. And so I asked her if she likes stories, if she had like certain maybe shows she watched, books she read, online games that she engaged with. And she said, oh my gosh, I love Disney stories. I love Disney. And I also love kind of medieval things with castles and prince and queens and kings and all the stuff. So we're like, well, what out here, you know, um, could we make a story of like that type of a story? And together, she just engaged in that, and we talked about, and she identified the dark, the dark side and the light side, and the princess who was trying to escape from always being in this. There was a lean-to where the horse was in, but always kind of going in there and feeling isolated, and she needed more friends, and people didn't seem to see her. And this whole story came through. Just, it ended up being her story, but we had all these characters, and it was really fun. And I think that's one of the things you mentioned too, Lynn, early on. We're like, wow, this seems like really joy filled and energy and empowering. There's a sense of empowerment that comes in our sessions through incorporating story.
Yeah, thank you for that example. And it's interesting as we start looking through that lens of, what are the characters in this story? And the characters could be anything, tangible, intangible, emotions, confidence could be a
Right.
character. The horse can be a character, the fence, the wind, the sound, anything like that. And then you have the locations, and then we can delve and explore the characteristics of those, which really start to bring the story alive. And you mentioned that it was really engaging. Was there anything else when you start kind of looking through your sessions and working with your clients this way? Like, how have you found it to bring your sessions to another level with your clients of supporting them? Oops, Lynn, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
We were just talking about sound as a character, and so we have internet as a character with Annie, and now we've got sound. Technology is a major character in our lives.
Exactly. So I guess thinking about the sessions, I guess I forgot what your question was after my mute.
Well, we are in a story right now, even, and our life is a story. So I think one of the things I was noticing as I was sharing that story is the safety that clients feel when they engage this way. You mentioned like she was able to like get excited, and you said engaged, and like, hey, let's co-create a story together.
Yeah.
And ultimately honoring her as the author, but we're story editors that we can support them and come up with ideas too that we present as, hey, I'm wondering about this character or that character.
Yeah.
And it just gives a little bit of distance from their story, so that sometimes we can be in it and we need to be right in it as characters or stories, but other times it helps to get that little like, hey, if we look at this as a story. I'm just wondering if there's any more additional benefits you've seen with your clients in doing this, how you've seen it transform your sessions.
Yeah, I do think that they have gone deeper and further faster than previous sessions. And one of the reasons you mentioned is the distance. I think sometimes we can get right we're so deep in our story, we can't see any different perspective, and we can't it's a struggle for any sort of new idea or light to come in. And so being able to kind of step back and observe our story as it's moving around us, as it's taking place, and being as a facilitator of this framework, being able to join with in that story editor role, developing the story, is being there with the client as a viewer of their story. So sometimes it's just there with them, just witnessing their story, which is so powerful to have another uh, human being standing with them, actually seeing and hearing their story, and as they narrate it, observing that. Then there's also, being able to step in with them and get deeper or different perspective, as you said. So I think that piece has been really helpful. And then the writer's room, being able to step even further out of the story, that tool of the writer's room, being able to acknowledge or capture what's been done and look at it together and be like, how do we want to move forward? And yes, keeping in mind that the client is always the author, and we're there to support, or maybe another set of eyes and ears to be like, oh, I wonder about this part of the story. It seems like we've spent a lot of time over here. What if, and we're probably going to talk about this, but another told is another acronym that we use as a skill set. We have timelines, we have opposites, we have location and distance. So what if we want to look at the story in a different time frame? If this is present for your story client, what would you want to, or do you see anything different out here when we look at future or past?
Thanks, Lynn. And we got Annie. I'm so happy. Thanks. Yay.
I did it.
You did it. Yeah, we've just been talking, Annie, about the benefits of seeing of applying this story mindset and these story tools and sessions, and how we're seeing it impact our sessions. We'll go ahead and just first, though, invite you to share a little bit about your background. And I already shared about it with everybody that you're brilliant, so you don't have to share that part if you don't. I knew she's one of the most humble people I've ever met, ever, and so I knew that would. Excited. So, but Annie, yeah, will you share a little bit about you and your work, and then maybe you can go ahead and move into what are some of the benefits you've encountered or changes in your sessions that you've encountered with this kind of story mindset and story tools.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Thank you for the invitation. Well, I'm a psychologist and a coach, and I've been working with horses in the area of psychotherapy and organizational development for the past 20 years now. And well, we've been through different phases along this journey and different learnings. And well, what Sin gave me and gave us as a team is one different thing is the connection with the client. Because since we are all into stories, I feel that we connect immediately with the client, with the teams, with the groups, because we all have stories, right? And when we start seeing everything as a story. We are all the same. So that is a big difference. Another difference is the freedom we have as facilitators, because it's not a way to do things. You have this framework, you have some tools, but you have a lot of freedom to be genuine, to be authentic in your interventions. Um, Another thing that I like and I really enjoy about the story framework is that you can uh, you can access to it at whatever stage of the process or during the session. You can start framing with stories, or you can catch it at the middle, or even at the end, and it works depending on the client. So overall, what I can see is freedom in myself as a facilitator, freedom for the clients to be who they are and have all these different choices, and this part of connection, because we are talking about stories and we have all stories. That would be it.
It's beautiful.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to share with you guys, and feel free if anybody has any questions along the way, you're welcome to put them in the chat. So in this 2-day workshop, I'm just going to first of all share some of the tools that we actually cover, and then maybe Lynn and Annie, if you can think of a specific example of how you've applied that tool, just to share what that might look like. So we talked about the scene keystones as one tool. The impact of listening to each other's stories and how that enhances and impacts our stories, and changes our stories. So we might have one and we hear someone else's story. Next thing you know, our stories change as a result. So listening to each other's stories, zooming in and out, changing our physical distance and emotional distance and angles to our stories. Even the focus areas, zooming in and out on a certain character or a certain location, certain characteristic of either of those, for instance, or stepping back can change and impact stories. Working titles, that's been a really popular one. It's been so effective, just inviting clients to put a story, a title to their experience, to their story, and that how that changes and shifts in different episodes and from session to session. Then we have different story editing tools that we teach about how to explore different characteristics and relationships between characters. We have told, as Lynn mentioned, timelines, opposites, locations, and distances, and then introducing facts and symbols into the process as well. So I know that was kind of a lot, and in our workshop we get to like go into deep depth on each of those. Just wondering though if there's any that are standing out for you guys that of how you've applied it that you might want to share.
Well, I'll jump in, just all of them, but working titles, I think, has been a surprise to me, how it really does enhance the story and kind of anchor the experience for the client, and for us as we're going through. So, working title, as we explain it to our clients, right, is just that. It's a working title. It can be changed and modified, but it's a way to connect to and anchor this experience together. So, is there any word or phrase or a full sentence, if you want, anything that would stand out for this session? And then many times that we capture those, and then we can look back and see where we've been um, in this journey of this story process with the client. And then it can also help inform us as facilitators where the client is at, and can help us then to enhance where we might support them in developing their story further. So I'll just pause there, but there's so much more with working titles too. It could be a soundtrack, or it could be a color or a picture. It doesn't have to be words for a working title, so you can get creative.
Yeah, it is cool how that anchors and how different things how you can see the journey and the progress of the story just through different titles as it goes through. I'll just share this quick story because we just shared in our community call that just happened at our Seeing Through Horses workshop in North Carolina. And we invited a working title with our client and put it up on the flip chart. So we like to put things up there to see it visually again. And it was peace within intention. Peace with intention. Sorry, peace with intention. And she had a story of past, future, present, a lot of struggles, grief, all that kind of stuff going on. But peace with intention was her title. And as the story continued to move along, the flip chart was blown by a gust of wind, and the wind turned the flip chart around, which turning around was part of her story. And then the wind also ripped the paper of the flip chart. And later, as it came out, we kind of talked about it. We noticed as facilitators, the client wasn't there at that moment when that had happened. But later we brought it in as it organically fit. Look what the wind did to the title. The rip literally came between the word within, split it. So it said peace within. Sorry, it
was intention.
Intention. Sorry, split intention. Sorry, my story here. It split between the word intention so that it became peace within, and it split off tension.
It was so cool.
And it became a big part of her story, and that actually became her new title of Peace Within. And so anyway, it was just cool how the wind played a role in the story. And I just want to share real quick too, you guys, that when we're talking about story, we're not necessarily talking about metaphor. Yes, stories can be metaphoric. We just replay our stories over and over again, different characters, different locations. But it really is about the story that's happening in the moment is the main story that's happening. So I just wanted to share that as they're creating stories, we are in a story. And so, yeah, do you guys have anything to add to that? Or Annie, you want to share?
Well, my favorite twos would be the first one and the last one. The first one is the most simple of all. Just listening deeply to a story. Like when we listen to each other, we've seen that just with 4 minutes, with listening deeply, we can connect. And my story is changed by your story. So every time we listen, and not with the intention of having or making an intervention or just listening, that changes you, because your story impact my story and my story will impact yours. So that's one of my favorites. And the other one is facts and symbols, because we have many things around us that can add to our story. It could be things that are actually there that sometimes we don't see, or a symbol of something that we have in our unconscious, things that maybe we don't know. And when we add these things to our story, they are transformed. So those two are my favorites.
Can I jump in with told? I want to jump in with told. So the timeline's opposite, locations and distances. I think for me, that little acronym helps me to remember that there's just really quick and easy ways to help enhance stories. So I was thinking about we'd use this in our online workshop, right? The Seen Through Story virtual workshop, and we practice it. And so using it in telehealth or in online work, it's amazing. I actually incorporated just recently in-person session with a group of ER nurses and doctors, emergency room nurses and doctors that had just gone through, well, as you can imagine, pretty stressful times always, but the loss of one of their colleagues who successfully or completed suicide. So we were out there, and we used 3 different spaces as past, present, future, but we let them pick stepping into their life in whichever. Everybody started in the present, but they could pick which location represented the present for them. And we gave them 5 minutes out there, or excuse me, 15 minutes out there in the present to see what they were connecting with in that location of their story of the present. And then we gave them the opportunity to, we just said, now choose one that would be the past and shift to that space. And so they physically shifted to the past. Each one chose somewhere in the same place with their past, somewhere in different locations with their past. But all these stories, as Annie was saying, our stories are connected and impact the other stories that are going on. And then we did the same thing 15 minutes in the future. And we actually added a last version of now you can select one of the time frames that you'd like to revisit for the last 15 minutes. So they had their choice to go past, present, or future, kind of revisit again. And it was just powerful bringing in that piece and actually seeing where different people were in their past and in their present, in their future as well. So stories impacting stories with that told piece.
Thanks, Lynn. Yeah, it's been really powerful. I think not only from the standpoint of feeling like we're really with our clients in this co-collaborative journey of creating a story together and experiencing it together and seeing how it shifts and the curiosity. I wonder what will happen next.
Mm-hmm.
It's also really helped with creating some structure to help clients continue to move in their journey. Sometimes when we feel like we're working with clients and it feels stuck or we're going in circles, these different tools that we have, it's been really useful in just helping get, kind of shift that perspective. And next thing you know, the story is going again. And not that we're trying to move faster at the pace that our clients need to go in their growth journey. However, as facilitators, we can provide opportunities that bring new insights that help a story continue to flow and unfold. Do you guys have any more thoughts about that? How it's helping with the stuckness of your clients?
I think, I'm thinking about just the symbolism of the arch and using that and framing that on a flip chart, whether it's in the beginning or if it's partway through the sessions with, like multiple sessions, if we're seeing them over time, or if it's at the end to just acknowledge and document kind of where we've been. But being able to pause and be with our clients to I draw, as you guys know, and many of us do, an arch on a flip chart, and talk about kind of where we want to be on the other side of the arch, on the right-hand side as we move through it. And then on the left-hand side, where are we starting, and get some characteristics of that. And then that messy middle, Lynn, as you mentioned at the start here, there's that messy middle. We don't know where we've been. So if we're just starting a journey together, looking at their story, but it's kind of creates anticipation where we're going to go, is that we're going to figure it out together. And we have different tools that we're going to use and incorporate. If we're using it later in the session, we might also document the working titles in that messy middle, because we're having some clarity as we're moving through that messy middle. And so that flip chart and that arch have been helpful, I think, in setting the stage and framing sessions, and help people to take a pause, document where we've been, kind of step back and decide where to go next.
Yes, I agree with you, Lynn. Just the awareness of having a story arc, that arcs go up and then they go down, and having these up and downs are part of life, and it's not we don't have to rush them. They just are what they are, and that's part of stories. And the more that it goes up and down, the better the story, right? So having that framework and that and that thing always in the background has been really helpful. There's no need to rush. Things are how they are, and we just follow the story and let's see what's going to happen next. So it helps a lot, story arcs.
Yeah, I also think that you mentioned it, Annie, about just as a facilitator, just that freedom it brings, and for our clients too. I really have loved incorporating this framework because I feel like we're with the client and we acknowledge, oh, I'm not I'm not the expert in your story, right? You're the expert, you're the author. However, I'm going to be with you in this, and it's okay when I might say as a facilitator, wow, I'm feeling like this is kind of like, even looking on this flip chart, it kind of seems like it is messy. I don't know where to go next. And the client's like, yeah, I don't know either. That's my life, and it's like, yeah, I mean, we're acknowledging and bringing transparency and connecting at this whole deeper level. It's not expert teacher. We're supporting each other in our journey of life, and our stories are connected, as you said, Annie and Lynn.
Yeah. And it's been fun and engaging for us and clients alike, which is always nice as a facilitator. Just easy to get burned out with this story framework has just really brought a lot more. It's more engaging and interesting, and we're with and collaborating, and it builds anticipation for the sessions and builds curiosity, which is really great in the learning journey.
I have to say, the Seen Through Story workshop, when you had the idea of doing a 2-day, 6-hour each day workshop, I was like, online, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, I don't know how we're going to have fun doing this, but however, it is the most engaging, fun online workshop I've ever experienced. And I feel like we hear that from the participants all the time. Like, it's so interactive, and that ability to be in small groups and large groups and practice, and our own personal story coming forward and professional development happening. It's just so fun. I really enjoy it.
Well, yeah. And so we didn't have an intention to create a workshop on this focus. We have, when you become an Arch member, you have access to all these online courses that we have, including you get to watch actual sessions. I know there's a question here. How do folks become practitioners? How do folks become a client as well? As a practitioner, there's, different organizations, you get training. We do training and certification as well. And you get to go in and have all this self-guided as a great place to start. So it's a really good foundation. Watch us do actual sessions and debrief and talk about it. And then we were invited to do a presentation to this group about the story frame. We're like, oh, okay, so we put together this presentation, and that kind of sparked wow, that was pretty fun to do. I wonder if we create more of an interactive workshop where you guys as practitioners can really engage with the ideas and concepts. And we didn't actually have all the ideas and concepts yet. It was still pretty new in the beginning. And then we created this online that ended up being like over 2 hour or hour and a half over 6 weeks. Yeah. And that there was just missing some flow, and you forget what you did the week before, all this stuff. And so, yeah, I was like, I feel like we should try this in a more condensed. I know for me in my schedule, it works better if I can just have 2 days to focus on this and get it done. So, but yeah, we wondered how that would be for people sitting in front of a screen for 6 hours for 2 days. But it actually has been amazing because it's super interactive. We actually will provide these experiences where you get to facilitate each other's personal growth stories in small groups. So it's super hands-on, and we keep learning along the journey as well, and getting more clear about these tools and how they can work and how we can apply them. So yeah, thanks, Michelle. I see some of you guys who've been to the workshop, and thank you for coming, and people who come more than once, because it's different every time. So yeah, feel free if you want to join us in that. And yeah, if you want to learn more on how to become a practitioner, you can go to arenasforchange.com and become a member. And then feel free, you don't even have to be a member to take this workshop, the Seen Through Story workshop, and you can sign up and learn that way as well, or do both. But that's one way to get you on your start of becoming a practitioner. We do have a certification journey you can take as well if that's of interest. How do folks become a client? Well, yeah, seek out, if you're looking for arch practitioners in general, we have a directory on our website you can check into. You can contact us. There's other organizations. If you're looking and just generally of incorporating horses in this type of work, there's a lot of different organizations. You can Google it, but feel free to reach out. We're happy to help. You can also check out our sister nonprofit organization, horsesformentalhealth.org, if you're more focused on the horses side. And on the story side, definitely come and check out Arenas for Change. And hopefully feel free to reach out if you have more questions on that. Lynn, Annie, any other thoughts about the Seen Through Story workshop that we created it most of what we've been doing in Arch has been all by accident. We just kind of go with the flow, and next thing we're trying new things all the time, and it gets deeper, and it's been a really fun journey. And we hope if you guys want to join us at the story workshop, we do have our next one August 23rd and 24th this year. So, but Lynn, Annie, other thoughts?
Is anything ever really by accident? I don't think so. It's just coming into our awareness, right?
Something that I always remember about this course is like it started when we were trying so hard, for these to create a course for these people, and it was not flowing. Like, oh my gosh, we're trying so hard. But when we stopped that and we started to be who we are, it started flowing, and it became an amazing thing. So thank you, you too, because I enjoy it so much.
Me
And
too.
I
It's
have
such a fun,
enjoyed the journey. Yeah.
such fun time learning together. And I think that energy of all the people that have joined us, and their excitement about learning and engaging in a new way, and it just builds on we all just build on each other, and it's a very joy-filled, empowering time.
Yeah, I love it. We're co-creating stories together, learning with each other, from each other, and with our clients. It's been, I think this collaborative approach of just being with has been a very rewarding experience, and appreciate all you guys joining us in the journey, all your input. We share stories with each other, learn from each other that way, and impact each other's stories. So well, I think we can wrap it up here, you guys. Feel free, again, go to arenasforchange.com. You can learn more about the story workshop, about what we do in the membership. And we look forward to the next time we connect on a behind the scenes live. So thank you guys, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.